Hey YouTube, how's everything going? God bless it. Sorry, having a little bit of technical difficulties here. Alright, so this is actually my second attempt at this video. The first time it cut me off and wouldn't actually let me upload it. So, basically, I'm going to talk about something that's pretty near and dear to my heart. The topic is actually gun control today. Okay, so that's, oh, well, kind of a live wire topic, I guess, but it's just this old hillbilly's fucking opinion here. I was watching some videos on YouTube earlier, because, I mean, I like watching YouTube, I like watching Facebook, Twitter, all that good stuff. I like to watch and see what's going on in the world, because let's face it, it's actually more accurate than most news outlets. If not all of them, maybe. Okay, so I was watching, some left and right videos, and I like to know all sides of a story before oh, I promised last time I say before, or Okay, so I like to watch different sides of different opinions. I've kind of reached the point where I just dropped a controller on the floor, but I like to see all sides of things. It's hard for me to base an opinion if I don't know both sides of a conversation. So I watch both pro and anti-gun videos. I've watched quite a few today. I've actually, well, what time is it now? It's about 1:20 in the morning. I started maybe about 10 o'clock, okay? So, I have come to a pretty good conclusion. There's something that I can say pretty indefinitely. They're pretty, I don't want to say positively, but it did kind of reinforce my own opinion that, excuse me, it reinforced my opinion that a lot of gun control measures are very, very emotional, not necessarily fact-based opinions, for lack of a better word. Okay, so there's a couple interviews that stuck out in my mind more than anything. I watched quite a few Piers Morgan videos, and for lack of a better term, at least in my opinion, and I'm no lawyer, but according to what our Constitution says here in the United States, sorry, but if you can't tell I'm from the United States, then you might be either deaf and are just reading subtitles, or just very uninformed, for a lack of a better term. So, I was watching these Piers Morgan videos, and this guy, for a lack of a better term, is an emotional sensationalism or sensationalist cuck. He panders to one mindset, and one mindset only. That guns are bad, okay, and that nobody should own one. And I swear, I've watched enough videos today. If I hear the word assault rifle incorrectly termed again today, I might throw up. So, anyway, back to my original point, is that one of the interviews that stuck out the most in my mind is a Piers Morgan video where he's interviewing Ben Shapiro. Okay. I'll be the first to admit, I don't know a whole lot about Ben Sharpio. I've heard things and, whatnot. And I hate to automatically believe anything that could be considered in an echo chamber. And for those of you who don't know, is that if you're surrounded by only like-minded people, you say things and you only hear things that sound very similar thrown back at you. So, like I said, for example, gun control. If you are very anti-gun, you will probably only necessarily hang out with people who are also very anti-gun. Because, let's face it, we do like to be around people who think like us. It's not necessarily, I don't want to say there's necessarily anything wrong with it, but that's just usually what we do. Okay. So, in an attempt to kind of break that mold, I watch and I listen and I hear a lot of things. I see a lot of things that are on both sides of that argument. Piers Morgan is very, very anti-firearm. Just my personal opinion here is I think that he is that way because that is what ratings get him. It's just he's way too much into sensationalism to make me think that's his own opinion. I think it's an act. He tries too hard, and that's my personal opinion. That's what I get from watching multiple interviews with him. Okay, so back on topic, I guess. If you haven't noticed, I like to ramble a little bit. But back on topic. The interview with Piers Morgan and Ben Sharpio. Ben Sharpio starts the interview with essentially saying is that I can't actually quote it without watching it again, but something along the lines of is that you start every interview, every conversation about this topic immediately talking about dead children. You like to stand on the graves of dead children to push your agenda. And anytime anybody tries to present a fact that doesn't agree with your narrative, you stand on the grave of dead people and dead children. That's your fallback. That's what you think is your spade, I guess. You're racing the hole. I don't see any facts, any statistics. Especially any non-biased, which I know is a very hard thing to find, but I don't see anything that even resembles a non-biased opinion or a non-biased fact that could possibly sway your opinion. If somebody has a different opinion of you, you immediately fall back to that, which is not only morbid as hell, not right. I mean, if your logic falls on one thing and one thing only, you need better logic. I don't care what the argument is, what side you're on. If it only falls on one thing, you need logic. And I got so tired of hearing this person, hearing Piers Morgan tell just blatant lie after lie after lie and talk about if you're on a no-fly list, you shouldn't be allowed to buy a gun or ammo or anything like that. Which, when you take it at face value, does actually sound like a good idea. Unfortunately, how do you get on a no-fly list? Unfortunately, due to the Patriot Act and acts of that sort, we aren't allowed to really know why we're on a no-fly list. Now, me personally, as far as I know, I'm not on one. But Video might change this. But either way, I like to drive better. This list, this no-fly list, is absolute and 100% against everything our Constitution stands for. We're allowed to be put on this list for any, I think it was, I want to say there's about 1,500 pages worth of reasons. But even if we fall under one of those categories, we're not to be notified. We're not allowed to fight it. There's no judiciary process here. And unfortunately, that's not... Wars have been started over less. Not that I'm advocating any war here, I just... There's no due process in being put on one of these lists. And even if you are put on, good luck getting off. I think, now granted, this is only one statistic I heard earlier, and I don't know whether the validity of it was from the NRA. So I am willing to at least give it the benefit of a doubt that it's true. Don't know for sure, but I am willing to give it the benefit of a doubt. 38% of people, 32 or 30, I honestly can't remember, 32 or 38% of people on this list are on there for reasons that aren't even listed on the 1,500 pages of why you shouldn't be allowed to fly. And the problem is that if you fight this list, or if you disagree, unfortunately, the mainstream media and I hate just using the term the government, but certain parts of the government that are not intelligence agencies automatically brand you as somebody who supports terrorism. Now, with that being said, without due process, without following the laws of our land that were put in place to stop exactly things like this, what are you supposed to do? Now me, I am a firearm owner. I own multiple firearms. I have young children at home. I won't tell you, how old they are exactly, but the youngest is between 8 and 10. Or 8 and 12, 8 and 10, somewhere around that age. Now, with that being said, from day one, I have taught my kids to respect a firearm, to respect and know exactly what they're capable of doing. I have taken the curiosity out of it, because young kids love to learn, and to learn they have to explore, and that's awesome. That's great. That's something that should be encouraged. Unfortunately, some people are going to take what I just said as let your kids do whatever the hell they want. No, it's your part as a parent to be a parent. Don't wait for school. Don't wait. Don't disassemble. Don't put it off on somebody else. It's your job as a parent to teach your children. If you have firearms, I'm not saying you have to have them. If you're uncomfortable with them, that's your right. Also, by the Constitution, that's your right not to have one. Everybody talks about, well, some governments require their citizens to have no firearms. Some require every citizen of age to have firearms. You don't like how I flipped that around, did you? Okay. So, regardless of what law or whatever, I have them at home. I have taught my children from day one exactly what a firearm is, what it's capable of doing. They all know and respect exactly what they can do. Now, not saying that I would, because I probably never would. Actually, I guarantee I never would. But if I wanted to, I could probably leave a loaded firearm laying on my kitchen table. Do you know what would happen? All of my children would walk up to me and say, "Daddy, did you know a gun is on the table?" And I would say, "Yes, I know there's a gun on the table." And their next response would be, "Well, Daddy, did you know that gun was loaded?" And I would ask, "How do you know it was loaded?" And the response I would get from every one of my children was, "I picked it up, I checked and cleared it, and found that it was loaded. So I unloaded it, set it back on the table, and now I came to you." And they would berate me for it. They would correct me for it. And they'd be right. Now, for those of you that freak out, like, "Oh no, kids picked up a gun. Kids should never pick up a gun." Well, for one, you're wrong. And for two, guns don't go off on their own. We're not talking about SIG here, where, there's a random one in, well, first in my lifetime that I know of, where if you drop a gun a specific way, it'll go off. Well, I hate to say it, but that's not most guns. Now, firearms, 99.99999% of the time. I don't know if it's an actual statistic, but it's probably pretty damn close. Firearms operate exactly as they are intended to operate. Now, if that doesn't fit your emotional gun control or your personal feelings, doesn't matter. Because that's what it is. I have never in my life had a firearm go off on its own. I've never known anyone. Hell, even in the Army. So hundreds of firearms handled, used, cleaned, fired on a daily basis. Never saw one go off without a trigger being pulled. You know what a trigger being pulled means? Intent. Now I'll go into that in a whole other video. But the fact remains that, well, more of an opinion remains, I suppose. You can call it fact or, what have you, I guess. Because laws are different everywhere. And opinions are different everywhere. But a firearm in the hands of a good person is the only thing that will stop a firearm in the hands of a bad person. So, this is me live. This probably isn't exactly how or what I wanted to say, and I may put a video up later, more clarifying, maybe a little less all over the place. But this is me. That's my opinion. You don't like it? Well, let me know. Because that's America. That's the great thing about it. Is we're all allowed to have our own opinion. We don't have to agree. But we have to have our own opinion. Now, it's maybe a thing for another video, but you know, we're allowed to say each other's opinions are stupid. If you think mine's stupid, say so. If you agree, say so. But this is Viking Overwatch out. You guys have a good night.